Language-based discrimination. Now let's see how the two school systems were treating different languages. So you had these government schools in which the medium of instruction was Urdu, but when children spoke in regional languages, any local languages, they were tolerated. So often the teachers themselves would revert to a regional language when explaining something to the students. And in any case, if the students were using a regional language, they were not stopped. However, the main focus remained on Urdu. So every text, everything was in Urdu except the English language or the Sindhi language text, of course. English was not spoken either by the teachers or the students. So what we mean by this is that even when English was taught, it was more or less taught in a way that English texts were explained in Urdu. As such, if we are talking about communicative English that was not used in these Urdu schools, Urdu medium schools that we explored. Now, there were some government schools in which there was a dual medium of instruction. So in our sample, we just took one of those schools where English was also used as a medium of instruction after class 6. So in this case, they had separate sections. So there was a section for those who were studying everything in English, and there was a separate building for those who were studying everything in Urdu. Not even that, they were also made to wear different uniforms. So you could tell by looking at this girls' school whether the student belonged to an English medium or Urdu medium section. And then they also had one section on the Urdu medium side in which there were, this was a section of high achievers. It was hardly a section of about 20 students on which they focused a lot because they thought these were the ones that would bring them grades. Now, interestingly, the participant that we chose was from the mainstream Urdu medium school, because Urdu medium section in this case, because our point was looking at the experiences of those who went through this mainstream Urdu medium education. So this girl actually says that it was very clear to us that the English medium girls section was definitely more privileged. The teachers never said anything, but we just knew. And they knew because of the way the teachers responded to both of them. So this girl says that the teachers in the computer lab would sometimes stop us from coming into the lab because there is some project underway. They would take most English medium children, and the children were at times holding certificates. We would ask what had happened. We would not even know about the competition. So when it came to competitions, when it came to computer-based projects, when it came to debates, it was always the English medium section children that were appreciated, and they were taken out for competition against other schools. Not only that, the teachers clearly preferred the English medium girls, and these girls also knew that they were somehow better than the other Urdu medium section girls. Now we come to the private schools. Now in private schools, the main difference between the government sector and this private school was that the regional languages over here were not tolerated at all. Simply no question. And only recently there was a circular from mainstream, a huge system of private school system, which said no foul language is tolerated, including Punjabi. So you can just imagine how foul languages and how Punjabi has been used almost replacing each other. Urdu speaking was punishable in most of the schools. So we are saying although Urdu was being taught, Urdu was being spoken, in Urdu classes, yet it was sort of at times punishable. So if the teachers would, on duty in the break time, would see children speaking in Urdu, they would stop the children. Somebody speaking in Urdu, the teachers had the right to sort of punish them, fine them, so as to make them use English language. Now, the paradox over here is a very interesting one, and which is that although Urdu was looked down upon, those who were speaking English were highly appreciated, and the teachers would at times, as I said, also punish those speaking in Urdu, yet in classrooms, when explaining any type of English text, whether may it be history, geography, math, English, anything, teachers would use Urdu, students would use a little bit Urdu to sort of ask questions or to clarify concepts. It was used. So it was used but rejected. So there was a conflict over here in the response of the teachers to Urdu. Now, this is a quote by a boy who is in private schools, and he talks about one of his friends who wanted to say something to his principal. So he goes up to his principal and then he says, now sir was asking him to clarify his point only in English. He is telling sir, that is, the student keeps on telling sir, that sir, I can't. I don't know how to speak in English. I only know how to speak in Urdu. But he was sent back to his class, and while the class laughed at him, he got his speech translated, and then after understanding and learning it carefully, he went back to his sir, that is the principal, to explain what his problem was. So you can see the humiliation this child underwent because he did not know English and because the principal would not listen to him because he could not speak in this dominant language, that is English. So even if the problem was genuine, he needed one language that had been chosen by the school to earn the right to be heard. So if I ask, for instance, what was the learning that came from all these attitudes? So the learning was that the English language speakers were definitely superior to those who spoke only Urdu. And that is why they sort of, they were entitled to a privileged status. Then tolerance of inequality. So if somebody did not speak the same language or did not have the competence in English, then they did not have to be tolerated. For instance, in Maria's case, these people had just to be ignored. And then what this Faizan sort of learned was that the right to speak and to be heard comes with English language. So please remember, as teachers and learners, when we respond to the students, especially in terms of languages, we are giving them some hidden lessons and hidden values which they are learning fast.